When we recorded this back in February, Anton and I dove into a conversation about momentum, about how small, consistent actions can redefine what success looks like. Guided by Atomic Habits by James Clear, our talk centered on building systems, embracing discomfort, and the discipline it takes to show up when no one's watching. Since then, Anton's continued to stack those quiet wins. He's deepened his presence in luxury real estate, taken his personal growth to new levels, and refined the very habits that we unpacked in this episode, proving that consistency isn't just something that he talks about, it's how he lives. This conversation reminds us that success isn't one big leap, it's the steps that no one sees. So let's revisit where it all began. And when you're done watching, make sure to head over to Instagram in the coming days for Anton's post-interview update, an exclusive look at how his journey has evolved since our conversation earlier this year.
When you get out of college and you're trying to look for a job and it says you need to have 3 to 5 years experience, well, who's going to give me the experience? Big part of getting future listings is having the experience. I'm 3 years into this business, and something like that can be a catalyst. If you haven't sold a house in a certain price point, they may not want to work with you.
What's going on in LA now and what you're experiencing now?
Every single property I called, everything was already 30% over what they were asking because people had bid it up to the moon.
Oh my God.
Getting a new house is like not necessarily on the top of the list. I see most people renting right now. Actually, the biggest listing I have gotten happened because I asked.
It takes a certain level of courage, willingness to make that ask.
You know, I'm not trying to take money out of the other person's pocket. Let me hold all the opens, do the showings. Let me market my name on this with you. If I didn't ask and I could look back and see what asking would have gotten me, I would be so pissed. I mean, obviously, I want to do as many deals as I can, but at the end of the day, I want to be an agent that somebody genuinely enjoys working with.
Anton the guy. The time has finally come. I think the last time I had a proper in-person conversation with you was at one of our going away parties senior year in college. I think at Playpen, with Andrew Denton and them.
Yeah. Scarily 3 years ago.
Exactly. And now we're full-blown adults.
Yeah, wild.
And as everybody, really started to go their separate ways, we all, like I said, bloomed into our own professional careers, started finding our paths, and, today's kind of dedicated to, understanding a little bit more about how you ended up where you are today as well. So the exchanges since then have been, nothing but good chats and meaningful convos, and I'm stoked to have you today to kind of build off of that. So to tee it off, how you doing? What's up? What have you been up to lately? What's going on in the life of Anton Nuovo?
Well, it's been a great 3 years since we graduated. Yeah. If you may have heard, I'm engaged now, so that's a big life step. I think I'm like one of the first ones.
You definitely are.
I think there might be a couple others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I've seen some proposals online. Mm-hmm. So that's a big step. Career has been ups and downs. I obviously joining the real estate world at the time that I did was coming off of the high of COVID when rates were 2%. And I joined when that was ending. And so, a lot of people joined the business when the rates bottomed and houses were flying off the shelves, and I joined when the rates went back up. So it wasn't the best time, but I'm glad I did, because I think if I had joined the industry at a more prosperous time, it would have almost been like a false reality, and it only lasts so long, which it happened to a lot of people. A lot of people thought they were going to be making, millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars for the rest of their career, but times change. and you have to adapt. So,
For sure, for sure.
but it's been great. Yeah.
I've been super into Netflix real estate reality TV shows as of lately. And Ryan Serhant's Owning Manhattan's like one of my favorite ones. And he literally
Okay.
talks about exactly what you said about how the markets fluctuate, as is expected, of course.
Yeah.
But how so many new agents come into periods when it's just all rainbows and sunshines and then duck out when it really gets to the snow and sleet. I applaud you for toughing it out, you know, making it through those periods. But, you know, just to set the tone for the interview, if you could only pick 3 words to describe your current journey up until now, what would they be?
I would say 3 words. Let's say hurdles, a couple physical hurdles. I would just say persistence and honestly, as cheesy as it might sound, positivity.
There you go. There you go. I love that. I love that. All right, so we'll get into the hard hitting questions. You detail a little bit in your blog post how you started in the food and bev industry before pivoting to real estate. Explain what working in food and bev looked like, why you made the decision to move to real estate, and ultimately what lessons you kind of gained from that experience and how it shaped your business approach today.
It was a granola company. Very long backstory, but we started it as like sort of a family business and partnered with somebody who'd been making granola and selling granola for a long time. It was just sort of a family business venture that I became a part of, helped with the marketing. And of course, when you're a startup, you don't have tons of money to hire people. So like
Exactly.
as with anything, you do everything yourself. So I some days I would help make it. Some days I bagged it, sealed it, boxed it, put it on the pallets. We had to do, clean the kitchen, everything that you have to do to run a food a food business in on the back end that nobody talks about. And including staying super late nights and, scrubbing floors and sheet pans and, everything under the sun. As far as that goes, I would say that was almost like my master's degree, because the life lessons that you learn in being a part of a business like that, especially one like food and beverage, anybody will tell you who's in it, is extremely difficult. There's tons of regulations around it. There's tons of rules you have to follow. The margins are generally somewhat tight. To my understanding, if you were to sell the business, the multiplier that the industry typically goes on is nowhere near like a SaaS product or something in the tech world. So everything takes longer, it takes much more volume. But the lessons I learned were invaluable, and I'm so glad that I went through that process with everybody on the team. And I mean, unfortunately, we did have to close our doors towards the end of COVID. COVID was a big factor in that, but we did have some managerial issues that caused sort of the fall apart of the company on top of COVID. That was definitely a big eye opener. And like, if I were to go start another business elsewhere, I have a decent picture into what it looks like and to what I would avoid and look for in the people I work with and the general functioning of the business.
Exactly.
We were just about to launch a new product too. They were protein bites. It was going to be so good. I thought it was better than the original granola. Great. But we had these protein bites coming out. We just got 10,000 bags from China that we just had produced, all of our bags, and we shut down the same week. So we literally just got rid of them because we couldn't keep going. And that was going to be the killer product that I think was going to get it into more people's hands. But, not everything's meant to be.
Exactly. Exactly. Now you find yourself in one of the most competitive industries, being real estate, you know. And I think it's the clearest in an industry like the one you find yourself in that success doesn't happen overnight. So what were the steps that led you to your entry in real estate? And then the consistent actions afterwards that kind of helped you build momentum and stay in real estate ultimately.
So in college, my degree was marketing, business marketing. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Didn't know what industry I wanted to go into. I knew I wasn't going to be staying in the granola business. So a long time passion has always been real estate, like just in a general sense, not necessarily any aspect. I do like construction. Some people hate it. I think it's super interesting and I'm intrigued by how things go together and how things are built. So I have a knack for that. I love design. Um, and so I think it was junior year, I had talked about getting my license. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you remember Kobe Chatwin, Andrew Maliki, Aaron Burnham, all those
Yep.
guys in
Yep.
the couple of years above, they started Link Brokerages, and they basically were like, "Hey, like get your license. We're just opening our doors like publicly, like and hang it with us, and we'll help you get going." And so they were very, very important to the beginning of my career in helping
Mm-hmm.
me, do my first deals, walking me through things. Um, and I have nothing but good things to say about them, and now they're killing it. So I'm super
That's
happy for
awesome.
them. And really, at the end of the day, and I think most people will tell you this who are agents, is that it's a
Mm-hmm.
snowball effect, but it
Mm-hmm.
takes time. So the first thing you do is you work your inner circle, family, friends, people who you knew years ago, who are your neighbors, who are, I guess, even friends from school, elementary, middle school, high school. Parents are moving, they know you as a person. Because at the end of the day, a part of the biggest thing of being an agent is gaining somebody's trust. Like that's really, at the end of the day, you have one of their biggest assets in your hands to either purchase or sell it or rent it out. So trust is a big thing, and you got to work your inner circle first. And once you do that, hopefully you do a good enough job where people end up referring you. And that's already happened. It's pretty awesome how that had the feeling of somebody saying, "Hey, I know somebody who's looking for something. Can you help them out?"
That's
And
awesome.
they tell them their friends about you, and your name sort of trickles down the list. That's how I'm seeing it happen for me,
Yeah.
and it's definitely a slow process,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not to be. Don't get discouraged from it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you still have to hustle. You still need to go meet people, and at the end of the day, getting your face in front of others is gonna do the work. And don't be afraid to, you know, get out there. Snowball referrals. It's like that's a big part of the game.
For us, those that are recreational real estate agents, I'd like to say, us who like to peruse the Netflix reality TV shows that are real estate centric, explain to us what the kind of the pillars of the business are, how the markets are looking like right now, whether that be in the work that you're finding yourself in now. I know you touched on it a little bit before the call, but explain that market, how you're working to navigate it, what you're experiencing, what you're projecting. Just give us like a Spark Notes breakdown for dummies, basically.
I mean, honesty is a big one. Integrity. I guess it sort of falls in line with. I don't like sugarcoating things. I'd rather just tell you how it is because those are the people that just, in my opinion, it doesn't really lead to anywhere good. And I'd rather just be honest with somebody than try to make it sound better than it is. It's a delicate situation because in some circumstances you don't want to scare somebody away, if an inspection comes back and you got some things you need to fix, you don't want to scare somebody. So you don't say, oh, this looks awful. You better, you want to try to keep the deal going, but you also want to be honest, like I said, and be upfront and say, like, look, like these are all fixable things. I'm just giving you an instance. So it's a fine line. You don't want to scare your client. You don't want to have them make a rash decision based on a shocking discovery. I would say that's a pretty big thing. I'd rather just be upfront. I would say also genuinely caring, sort of being able to genuinely relate to somebody's life and what they're going for. Now, like I thought about this when I was getting into it, because usually you go into either residential real estate or you go commercial, which could include office, multifamily, industrial, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, those are usually just businesses and numbers. And that's plainly what it is. Like you're selling somebody's asset that produces income, and there are expenses and there's maintenance and insurance and taxes and all these things. And usually it's just an asset for somebody in the commercial world. But a home has a completely different aura, I guess you could say. People have emotional attachments. You raise your family there for 20 years. You make it your own. You're not just renovating it to renovate it. You're renovating it to your liking if you're staying in the house, right? So you do all these things that are just for you, and you become attached to your house. People have a strong connection with it. And it goes on the flip side too. If you're a buyer's agent or you're repping a buyer, your client's going to fall in love with a house eventually. And it's going to be very difficult. God forbid something happens and they can't get the house. You've got to deal with somebody who just lost something that they already thought was theirs, even if it's not on paper. The emotional aspect of it is, I kind of like it. I think some people, maybe it's not for them, but I genuinely like talking with people. You could tell I could talk to anything all day long. Anything, anyone, I'll
You're
talk
a
to
certified yapper. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I'm a yapper, but I know when to shut up also.
There you go.
And so that definitely helps. But I genuinely care, and I want people to have a good time. It's important to me that my clients have a good experience with me, not only in the hopes that they refer me to other people, but in genuinely making their experience good and that they're happy with the decision they made. I'm never going to force somebody to, follow through with something they don't want to do because I make money. If they're 100%. Happy, that's good for me. And I genuinely say, when my clients' best interests are my best interests, I got to do what they want, that they like, what their end goal is. I'm going to try to get them to it.
Yeah. That touches on that positivity piece that you kind of raised a little earlier, but I know you were in it for the drama and the emotions. I love that. Speak to a little bit about, what's going on in LA now and what you're experiencing now, and you touched on a bit with, the emotional ties that are invested in a lot of those properties, and the fact that there is such a bum rush now to, find housing and land on your feet, because a lot of these people are up in the air right now, whether that be staying in Airbnbs or hotels.
So in general, what I've seen, at least personally, a lot of people who lost their homes, and I'm not close to Altadena. It's not the area that I know, mostly West LA, and then you get into the Valley, Studio City, Sherman Oaks, and Encino, Toluca Lake to West Hollywood is sort of where I work. And so Palisades is more the people who I deal with. A lot of families, from what I'm seeing, they're not making purchasing decisions right now. They're renting. They don't necessarily want more responsibility, because when you buy something, it's yours, right? You have to take care of it and you're responsible for it. Right now, they just want a roof over their heads. And they want time to figure out what they're going to do. Are they rebuilding? Are they selling their lot? Everybody's figuring it out. Insurance, I can't imagine what's going to happen to that. It's definitely going up. I see most people renting right now. Some people are shooting long term if they have the cash on hand to be able to do that. Otherwise, most people have to wait until insurance gives them their monthly stipend. when the fire started, I was telling you earlier, the people who reached out to an agent the day after they lost their home were more likely to be the ones who were able to secure a place quickly. Because had they waited, and I know a lot of people did wait, because I probably would wait too. I just
would
lost
too.
everything.
Yeah, me and you both.
I just lost everything. I'm trying to figure out, is my family safe? Where am I going? What do I have with me? What do I need to sort out? Getting a new house is like not necessarily on the top of the list. However, it also is at the same time, because the fire was so big, you have thousands of households who are now looking for rentals. And competition is high, especially in the Palisades. The money is there. So you have people overbidding for things, and now, there's a lot of rules and regulations in place to prevent people from gouging people who are in need. And I think it's foul, those who are doing it, and they're slowly being tracked down. And so, it's a very tough situation, but like I said, the positivity thing, I'm usually a very positive person. I'm upbeat. I like to see the good in every situation. How do I make it positive? What am I learning from it? But, the first family I helped out, when I went and showed them a property, which they ended up getting, they were just sobbing. They were breaking down, hardly keeping it together. And that's just devastating. It really is. And when you see that, you just, it makes you more angry for those who are taking advantage of the situation. Everyone needs to do their part. And, my company, Christie's, Southern California, we did 90 leases last month.
Oh my
because
gosh.
of how many people were looking for a home. Now, that one family I was able to get a lease for, and there was another family I was working with. Every single property I called, and they had a higher budget, everything was already 30% over what they were asking because people had bid it up to the moon.
Oh my God.
I have no right to complain about literally anything for like a long time, because I know a lot of people, I went to high school with. I have family members who lost their homes over there, who they've been in the community for 50, 60 years. They bought way back when it was just your little coastal Californian town. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And inventory for rentals is low. I'm helping a couple of separate clients that unrelated to the fire try and find leases, and it is a bad time for your lease to be up. It's a bad time for your lease to be up.
Damn. I can't imagine. These folks are coming to you. They're asking you for assistance with finding another home. We've spoke on the sentimental value of the home in general and what it means to call a place your home. It takes a certain level of courage, willingness, anticipation to have that effort or to make that effort to make that ask. And you've experienced a lot of, asks in your life as well. You spoke about the importance of asking, whether it's for help, opportunities, or even, forgiveness. So can you share a time when doing so kind of changed the trajectory of your career or even your life, and how that ultimately helped you progress in your further journey?
First of all, just on a generic point, everybody's going to make a mistake. So at some point, you're going to have to ask for forgiveness. Everybody's going to have to move on from something that they did that wasn't the best decision or move to make. And instead of just wallowing in it, just take it and pay your dues, ask for forgiveness, apologize, and then move on, but don't let it fester and make everything else negative. Now, beyond that, I would say for opportunities, one of my biggest, actually the biggest listing I have gotten in my short career happened because I asked. And it's not because I asked a stranger. It was because I asked somebody who's become a good friend of mine, who has built a few houses, and I knew that he had an agreement with another agent to list the house. At this point, in my career, as much as I would love for it to just be all about the money, but you can't think that way because, they always say you do what you're passionate about and the money will come later. And, I knew that this client / friend of mine had an agreement with another agent, and I wasn't trying to step on anybody's toes. That agent is also somebody that I know. Being an agent, a big part of getting future listings is having the experience. As with any job, it's like when you get out of college and you're trying to look for a job and it says you need to have 3 to 5 years experience. Well, who's going to give me the experience? Somebody's got to give it to me. I basically struck a deal. I'm not trying to take money out of the other person's pocket. Let me run the show. Let me do the grunt work. Let me hold all the opens, do the showings, do the paperwork, set up everything, coordinate everything, or at least, to the extent that they'll agree to. And, let me market my name on this with you. And at the end of the day, that is what really is a heavy hitter in the business, because at certain price points, if you haven't sold a house in a certain price point, they may not want to work with you because you just don't have that level of experience. Getting there and finding somebody who will give you that opportunity is few and far between. But I asked, and they said, you got for asking. I wasn't trying to take anything away from the other agent. It was a mutually beneficial situation. I take work off of his plate. He still keeps, whatever commission that was agreed upon, and I get to put my name on it and do the grunt work, and it's an opportunity for everybody, and everybody wins. That is a moment where I'm 3 years into this business, and something like that can be a catalyst. I almost didn't ask because I had known about the situation for months, and I was just like, you know what, like, why not? If they say no, They say no. I mean, nothing's gonna hurt. Now I think I'm definitely gonna carry that with me. I think it's almost like a gambling high because they said yes. That keeps you going for future scenarios. It gives you hope to just go up and ask, go up and talk to somebody, ask for the opportunity. Create a situation where everybody benefits.
Yeah.
If I didn't ask and I could look back and see what asking would have gotten me, I would be so pissed. And you know what? I'm almost certain that listing has helped me to secure, it's not finalized, but has helped me to secure another one. I was able to sort of use that as a stepping stone there.
I love that. And it seems like the theme of relationships, rings throughout, whether that be in your personal life or in your professional life. The thing about relationships is it's all about the building of them, but also the consistency in maintaining them. What wisdom would you impart on somebody in regards to the management of relationships, whether that be in your career or your personal life, with relationships in general, and even in moments where people may be feeling doubts or struggling to get out of their comfort zone? Or how would you best impart wisdom on the construction but also the maintenance of the relationships that you have in your life?
At least coming from my own experience, maybe just going into college, I was very reserved up until that point, pretty quiet. I had my group of friends, but beyond that, I was like, I'm good, I'm to myself type thing. And then I think college, as I'm sure it does for everybody, makes you meet other people, and you have to go make new friends. Not every person is going to be your friend, but the people who you connect with have similar interests. Your vibe gets along well. They're actively engaging with you and not, you can tell when somebody's not interested in talking to you. I also, like I said, I know how to be quiet too. And when someone's giving me the cold shoulder, it's like, hey, no problem. It's all good. In a professional sense, I put it in my calendar. And I've done a ton of leases in the last year and a half, a lot of them in all price ranges. And that person's lease ends eventually. So give it give it 3 months to their termination date, put it in the calendar and say, follow up with this guy, follow up with this girl. Are they leaving? Are they staying? Are they extending? Are they moving out of state? Like, find out what their deal is, because at the end of the day, at least professionally, everybody who leases is going to buy at some point. Like, just even if it's 15 years from now, they're going to remember the guy who helped them, continuously find a place to live, right?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, that in one sense, just don't let it fall at the wayside, because it's hard enough as it is to get real hot leads as an agent, that, people who are actually a customer or a client. And so don't let those fall away. You have to stay on top of it.
Exactly.
Now, personally speaking, I would say that, and I sort of experienced this in college with my high school buddies. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but like for me, I had a really tight group of friends. A lot of people you grow up with, you never really leave from. But in college, you get busy. You're in school, you're meeting new friends, you're going out with new friends. And, your high school buddies, your middle school buddies, they're doing the same thing. But then you fall away. And then, but you have to like actively make it a point to text them, send them a meme, send them something on Instagram. Just like, like literally anything to just chat with them. I had a couple conversations with buddies that were like, hey, I haven't talked to you in like a year. Let's try and make a better effort to talk to each other. And while that is the case with those who you're super close with, I could go 4 years without seeing you, and when we hang out, it's going to be like yesterday. But, life goes on, life moves fast, everybody's busy with work, and you go from being able to hang out with each other and go to a bar every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to seeing each other like once a month, here and there, and then, I'm engaged, and then, you have other priorities, and your time isn't all just your social club. You have to just make a conscious decision, because if you stop reaching out, eventually they're going to stop reaching out to you. It's just how it works. It's the same thing. Like, if people invite you out, if people invite you to hang out, whatever the case may be, and you consistently say no, or I'm busy, eventually they'll stop.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to keep relationships together. Even if you're not best friends with everybody, it's just good to have a great network of people that you like.
Exactly. I love how you keyed into that idea of persistence too, and just like a general prioritization. Like, obviously time is fleeting. We don't have much time, but it's important that we make sure that we make the most of our time with the relationships that we do have. So I think that's a great answer. Now, I imagine you experienced a lot of failure, whether that be in relationships, in your professional work, in personal life, whatever it may be, as it is experienced by 99% of us in this very complicated game we call life. So when faced with these setbacks, how do you kind of reset, refocus, keep moving forward? What's built into the systems of Anton Nuovo?
First thing I do is, everybody's going to be pissed off when you fail. When you do something that's bad, take a moment to just beat yourself up a little bit. Like, I think it's good for you. And then, for me, I go to the gym and let it all out. I go crazy, and that just works for me. Like, I don't play sports or anything. I just like, weightlifting, and that's fine. But then you have to analyze the situation and analyze it heavily. Whether it's, I think, especially with, I don't want to say especially, it's equally important in relationships, but in your career, because things are so like life-changing, whether you do something correctly or not that relationships aren't, but a relationship is an ever learning, you're forever learning how your partner is, and how you have to act, and how you ask questions, and how you respond, and all these things. So you're always going to be morphing, and it's never going to be perfect. But in a career, you're also always learning. However, there are things in a career like, for example, if you don't get the listing appointment and you find out later who got it, why they got it, the price that they put it up at, and you sort of analyze it and you go, and then you think back on your presentation. You say, did I do this right? Did I mention
Mhm.
something I shouldn't have? Should I have, you know, uh, there's a lot of things that you learn from just from failing, obviously, which is why you have to. For me, analyzing it is the most important thing because then I go, okay, I am not doing that again, and then hopefully that solves my problem. Self reflection, I guess, across the
Mhm.
board is probably the good term to use.
I love that. I love that. In conjunction to that, like many people set ambitious goals. Maybe people have aspirations, you know. I'm sure you have many for yourself. And in getting a little bit closer to those goals, to those aspirations, what routines or systems kind of make up the Anton we see today? What have you instilled into your daily life that are non-negotiables that allow you to maximize your output ultimately?
Okay, I have to work out in the morning.
Okay, say less.
I
You're not an
don't.
evening guy, no?
I used to be.
Okay, I
Uh,
think evening guys are psychotic, but that's neither here nor there.
well, look, I need caffeine in the morning,
Okay.
and it's not college anymore, so I can't, stay up till 3 on all the caffeine that I just drank. But also, it just like scientifically proven makes you feel better when you work out in the morning. Your day is just better. Um, and so if you have to wake up early, you wake up early. I have family members who, are 20 years older than me. They got 3 kids and they work in a bakery, and he still wakes up at 4 in the morning and works out every morning. But it's also becomes a part of your life. Like it becomes sort of an addiction, but it's a pattern. So for me, that unless work gets in the way of it in the morning, I work out in the morning. Sometimes I'll do a lunchtime workout because being an agent, your schedule's flexible. Um, yeah. So, sometimes I'll get a midday workout in if I have stuff in the morning and the afternoon, but I generally try to go in the morning. Makes me feel good, makes me feel like I've already accomplished something, which I think is really important. And that you put effort into something so early on in the day that it feels like, okay, like I did that, I crushed it, and now I move on to daily life.
So you've already made a name for yourself. You're Anton Nuovo. You're 3 years into your professional career, yet you have so much further to go. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years, and beyond personal success, professional success? What impact do you ultimately hope to leave?
Professionally, clients that are happy and enjoyed working with me. It's important that I make a good impression and that they genuinely enjoy working with me. Not everybody is going to have chemistry with everybody. And if the relationship doesn't fit, I don't really want to force it because I think it's going to be uncomfortable for both parties. While that may be the case, it's also not like I give up quickly because I notice a difference or like a sort of separation in the visions that each of us have. But we
Mm-hmm.
both need to be on board with the same thing, with how we talk to each other, how we communicate, how we treat each other, the goal for the deal. So that all needs to, come together for everybody to get through a deal successfully. I mean, obviously, I want to do as many deals as I can, but at the end of the day, I want to be an agent that somebody genuinely enjoys working with. That's a pretty big aspect of
Yeah.
that professional portion. Yeah, personally, I mean, getting married, I've never been somebody to plan super hard, super far in advance. When someone asks me where is my life going to be, I'm very much a take it a day at a time person and try to make the best of the day that I'm going into because I don't have timelines set for myself in life. I'm just going
Mm-hmm.
to try to do the best I can
Mm-hmm.
for as long as I can and just, play life out. I mean, like you said, what did you say? The game of life. I mean,
Yeah, the very
you know,
complicated game of life. And I think sometimes people can get a little lost in the future planning and even, the past reminiscing,
and people
so much
worry
so.
about it too. They worry
Exactly,
about their
exactly.
future. I don't. Everybody, we have too many things to worry about. To worry about something that's going to happen in 5 years.
A
I
hundred
mean,
percent.
seriously, I just want to enjoy the moment.
Yeah. Sometimes I gotta remind myself, like, Bobby, you need to go touch some grass because you're being a little too much right now. And I think honestly, it's something a lot of folks need to hear. Is like, just do your best every single day. Show up every single day. Be the best version of yourself every single day. Because all we
Yeah,
can control is the present day. So
hundred percent
as long as you're doing what you need to do in the
Mm-hmm.
present day, the future, the past will, be the past, but the future will ultimately make itself what it needs to be. So I love that
For
answer. I
sure,
love that answer,
for sure.
Anton. If you had to distill, everything you've learned, one guiding principle for success in life and in your career, and what would that one guiding principle be for you?
I hate to say, just live life a day at a time. I mean, because life is just going to get bad sometimes, and then there's going to be, and being an agent also is a fairly stressful job.
Uh huh.
When you're in the thick of it, I mean, there are definitely more stressful, but at the end of the day, you're making deals happen and you're playing with large sums of money,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of things can go wrong, and it's problem solving. And what you can do as an agent is try to avoid as many issues as possible. If there's an issue that comes up, try to make it not because of you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because if it is because of you, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But regardless, if it's out of your control, I mean, just go at it, resolve it when you get there. But
Mm-hmm.
there's no use in worrying about something that hasn't happened or that you haven't gotten to yet. You really just have to live life a day at a time. And if you are
That's
always
perfect.
looking to a problem in the future, you're never going to be happy because there's always going to be stuff that's wrong. You come home and your dog peed on the carpet, and if you have a kid, they're, crying, screaming. Your client calls you, and, I mean, there's so many nightmare scenarios I could think about, and even some that I've dealt with in the last week where I was like, everything went wrong in a deal, and you just solve it like at its proper moment in time, and you're gonna have a solution to it. And life is just problem solving. Like, really, at the end of the day, life is fine until you have problems, and then you have to figure out how to solve the problems or deal with the problems.
And even when dealing with the problems, you're presented with even more opportunity to learn and live life one day at a time. So way to wrap it up. Thank you ultimately for joining citiZen for the second series or the second season of the Scrapbook series. This year we're introducing a new concept called the Book Club. And what makes this season so special is our focus on weaving print media with multimedia, connecting the timeless wisdom of literature of past to the real world challenges of today. And the aspiration is, of course, of us young folks. So, in prepping for this interview, I revisited one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And for background, Atomic Habits is all about, one thing, small habits, massive results. James Clear breaks down, how tiny changes made consistently shape ultimately who you become. Forget life-altering resolutions. True growth happens when you focus on, just getting 1% better every single day. So over time, these micro improvements compound into something, game changing. And ultimately, the key is make good habits easy, but bad habits hard, and let consistency do the heavy lifting. And the message ultimately is you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Build better habits, build a better you, and ultimately build a better system. I knew you were a man of discipline by our many run-ins at Burns Gym. I look forward to seeing how the little things that make you you ultimately bear continued results and compound to something greater. So Anton, keep on keeping on. and continue to refine your systems that have gotten you to this point in your journey. And as a sign of appreciation, this book, Atomic Habits, is coming to you. I'll throw a little note in there. I'll probably emboss it and send it your way. Probably send it with a couple other items, but I wanted to gift this to you as a sign of appreciation for joining me today and having a great conversation. So,
Beautiful. Thank you,
in
Bobby.
closing, of course, bro. In closing, do you have any, last words?
That summary of the book that you just gave about, small habits leading up to something, I think the saying is that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master or an expert
Mm-hmm.
at something, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So it takes time, it takes effort and consistency, persistence. That's sort of just how life goes, I think.
Amen. Amen. I think you said it best throughout this interview, Anton. I appreciate you joining. This was great. And this was Citizen. We're signing off.